Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to another episode of the TMossBoss show. And in today's episode, hold on for a second, let me move my headset out the way so I can do this episode properly. But anyways, no, I wanted to talk on PvE and PvP games. Because, no, what trips me out that with PvE games, and it's crazy because, like, that's how a lot of us, especially if you've been playing video games for over 20 years, that's how a lot of us was playing video games at one point. We had no choice but to play PvE games because, yeah, not everybody had Wi-Fi, not everybody had some sort of internet connection or a gaming PC to play a game online against people. You know, and I know I didn't get into online gaming until 2010, so this was like years after I done, like probably, because I'm trying to think, if I got into gaming, maybe it was definitely the late 90s, because I think I was either 2 or 3 years old when I got into gaming. So, and that was like off of the Nintendo 64, and yeah, I don't remember playing online on the Nintendo 64. I never played any online games on the PlayStation 2. Like, if I had to play against people, I had to go over to somebody's house to play against them. But yeah, I didn't get into online gaming until 2010. That was probably like maybe 11 to 12 years later after getting into gaming and stuff. So yeah, overall, I know a lot of people are going to try to argue and say that PvP games are better, but it's like, look at all of the requirements that go into a PvP game. Now, I'm not saying that they're all PvP games are bad. I know I've played some PvP games where I'm like, I wish we could go back to those days, like old Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 1. Like, when I think of those PvP, well, the modes in those games, the PvP modes in those games, that to me was like, that was top tier gaming. That's when you didn't have to worry about, because nowadays when you look at a lot of different games, it takes you a while to get into a lobby at times, and it trips me out because I'm like, fam, this is the one mode that everybody be asking for and all these different games, and then when you try to play it, you can't play it because it takes forever to get into those games. Because I know when playing Call of Duty Warzone, and I know people are going to try to jump on me and say, oh, it's probably your internet connection. So how is it that there's other games that require online access, like Destiny or Gray Zone Warfare or Forza? I'm trying to think of some other games out there. I could get into those games, no problem. But the times where I've tried to play Call of Duty Warzone, it always takes a while to get into the game. And I know even not so much the PvP, because that game is more PvE than PvP. But the Division, I was getting ready to mention that, but I know that game, I just think that it's because of a lack of players. But I'm like, okay, with Call of Duty Warzone, that's probably the most played game one of the most played games every single year. Like, that's the one game where if I had to compare the player base, it's up there with Fortnite, it's up there with Grand Theft Auto. So explain to me, how is it that this is the one mode that they encourage, that Activision is pretty much encouraging everybody to play, yet I can't get into a game? And I'm seeing all these other different people there, you know, playing the game left and right. And I'm thinking to myself, like, are the servers too full? Like, what's going on here? Like, why is it that it'd be taking me like 15 business days just to get into a game? No, that's crazy. I'm like, I don't like having to sit and wait to play a video game. I'm just trying to jump into the game and play it. And that's why it confuses me when people, they make PvP based games, but there's issues like that. Or you get into a lobby and then the game just randomly crashes on you. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, how are you guys going to make a game PvP based, but you can't even play it? What's the point? You know, so, but what game was it that, Gray Zone Warfare. So, for those that don't know too much about that game, I feel like I have been talking about it in the recent days, but no, it's a PvPvE game, but they do have its own PvE mode in there called Joint Operations. So, but the PvPvE mode is called Warfare. So, what's crazy is that I can't remember if I was in one of those like idea, like recommendation things on Steam, or if it was like the general discussion part, but somebody was saying that PvE and Gray Zone Warfare was pretty much pointless. They shouldn't exist in the game. And what's crazy is that every time when I play Gray Zone Warfare, that's the only mode that I play, Joint Operations, the PvE mode, because I know what happens when playing games like that. And that's one thing that I will say about PvP based games is that there are a lot of toxic people in there. Now, there are even some toxic people. That's why I'm like, I'm not going to give PvE games all of the credit, because there have been some PvE games that I played where I'm like, you're not a good representation of PvE games, like Destiny, for an example. And I'm like, that just goes from the gameplay, the audience. There's a lot wrong with Destiny. So if it's games like that, then I'm like, yeah, those are not good PvE games. But Gray Zone Warfare, I'm trying to think, that's probably one of the best PvE games that I've played in the recent years. You know, in games like The Division and Destiny, and I'm trying to think of some other PvE based games. Yeah, I was like, comparing all three of those games together, Gray Zone Warfare, in my opinion, is a lot better. Because The Division, they have it where their looting system is messed up and the game be crashing a lot. Destiny then became one big giant money scam. In Gray Zone Warfare, I'm like, yeah, that game might have been buggy at one point in time, but since then, they have listened to the fans and fixed up their games. Do you think Bungie and Ubisoft would do that? No, Bungie and Ubisoft, all they want to do is come out with another extraction shooter and then come out with more updates for Rainbow Six Siege. So that's why I'm like, when you criticize or say that a PvE mode shouldn't exist in a game like Gray Zone Warfare, and there's a lot of people, I know when I play that game, I'm not the only one that be in the joint operations. There's at times where I'm playing that game, I'm being helped out, like, you know, during missions by other people. I'm helping out other people in while they're doing missions and stuff. What else? Exchanging loot. I didn't have people give me thousands of dollars worth of loot in that game. What else have I had happen to me? Yeah, like, there's at times where I'll be playing that game and I'm like, man, this is peaceful, you know. And that's, I think, one of the main reasons on why people play PvE games, because they are tired. Because so Warfare, the one thing that I have seen with that game is that people be liking to lurk in the grass, you know, in the jungle and all that stuff. You'll be playing, so like what I've seen when they be playing Warfare, they'll see somebody, they know that that person's getting ready to kill them, get into a shootout, and that, my thing is this, yes, there is that risk too in joint operations, the PvE mode, of getting shot and killed by one of the NPC players, but my thing is this, at least you know where the gunshots is coming from. With the player that's hiding off up in the trees or sniping people off, yeah, I'm not trying to deal with that. You know, like, if I'm playing that game and I'm trying to do a mission, I'm not trying to worry about other people. And that's one of the main reasons on why I had stopped playing the one video game, Arc Raiders, because of that. You'll be trying to do a mission and somebody's ruining the mission for you, wanting to hide off up in corners and wait for you to get ready to extract and shoot and kill you, or they'll make it seem like that, oh, we're buddy, and then wait for you to start typing on the computer thing and then shoot and kill you. And I'm like, fam, I'm not trying to deal with that. When I'm playing a game, and that's why I'm like, what confuses me is that, why do developers feel like they need to mix in missions with modes like PvPvE? And that's one of the another video game that I was all like, I wasn't even gonna give that game the chance. But Marathon, that's the game that Bungie had recently released. Their I guess attempt at doing an extraction shooter. And I'm like, fam, you know, if you guys came from PvE based games where you guys did the Halo games, yes, you did have PvP in the Halo games, you had PvP in the Destiny games, but I think everybody mainly played your PvE like based video games, or at least the modes in those video games. So when people was playing Halo, they were doing the story, they were doing, yeah, and there was people that were playing online. I had to say that was probably the one game where the fan base was divided. You had people doing the PvE stuff and you had people doing the PvP stuff. Fast forward, when you guys came out with Destiny 1, you seen at times when people would play PvP, but I think everybody was trying to do the raids. They were trying to do the Nightfall missions. They were doing strikes. They were, you know, doing regular missions with each other. Like, that was one game where I was like, yeah, PvE existed, or not E, but P had existed, but I think everybody was playing PvE. So, fast forward, then you guys decide we're going to blend it in, but in a mode where everybody's mainly going to be playing PvP. They're going to be trying, if they see you, they're going to shoot and kill you, like, right then and there on the spot. And then on top of that, you're going to add missions into the mix of it, so you're trying to do a mission, and now you done got killed by somebody. What's the fun in that? You know, and I know people are like, oh, that's the risk of reward. I'm not trying to deal with no risk of reward. I'm trying to get through some missions. When I look at a lot of different, and I guess even just going back in the day, during like the PlayStation 2 era, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, like I had did kind of record this episode already, or it might have been another episode, but I think I remember at some point in time while recording a podcast episode, I can't remember if it was this one or if it was another one, but I remember looking it up, that Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was the best-selling game on the PlayStation 2. Now, imagine if that game would have a PvE mode, or not but PvP mode. I'm mixing in modes. My apologies if I do say one and not the other. I do apologize. But anyways, imagine if that game, while you're trying to do missions, there's people running around killing you, and now you gotta do the mission all over again. Would you enjoy that? No, you would not. Because nobody will be able to beat that game. It will probably be somebody announcing it today that they were the first person in history to beat Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, unless they unhack the game and put themselves up in a private lobby. But other than that, yeah, nobody would be able to play that game if every time even the very first mission of the game, you're riding your bike, you're trying to get away from the Ballas gang and stuff, and somebody done ran you over and then shot and killed you, took your money, and then they went on about their business. That's not fun. There ain't no risk of reward. That's just causing me to play this game for an unnecessary amount of time. So that's why I'm like, when they be trying to hit me with these gaming catchphrases and stuff, I never listen to it, because I'm like, okay, you're having fun with this game. You like PvE or PvP games. I don't know why I keep messing up on saying that, but you like PvP games. I used to like PvP games, and I'm trying to get back into PvP games, but I am also trying to find a game where it is not toxic. So, Gray Zone Warfare. Maybe one day I might play the PvP aspect of that game, but for now, I'm doing perfectly fine playing PvE. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with playing PvE, but it's these PvP players where they get so upset about a PvE game existing or a PvE mode being added into the game. But I know that was one thing I kept seeing with Arc Raiders, was that the reason why people didn't want PvE in that game is because they thought it was going to split the resources. Fam, I'm just trying to do missions. I don't care about no resources with that game. What resources are we even talking about? That's what I mean by people, they just be coming up out the woodwork saying some stuff that don't even make no sense. I'm like, fam, there are games already that exist that is just strictly PvE, or they do have PvE content in the game. So what are you talking about when you guys are saying splitting the resources, when there is literally a whole game just like Arc Raiders called Gray Zone Warfare that has both PvE and PvPvE? What are you guys talking about? That's what I mean, like, by people where it's like they're just out to ruin video games. Because to me, that just don't even make no sense. And I feel like they had to have been somebody that said it in the video, and now everybody is saying it. But they can't come up with their own reasons on why they're saying it. But I know their own reasons. They know that they are a PvP based player, and they just want to go and shoot and kill people, take whatever loot that they have, get up out of there, do the same thing over and over and over again. And it's like, fam, I'm not trying to deal with that. When I'm doing missions, that's probably one of the main reasons on why I have not finished out the missions in Arc Raiders, because you're having to worry about people, and then on top of that, Arc Raiders is just a poorly developed game. I'm like, that's one of those games where I wish I hadn't have invested so much time into it and stuff. But yeah, it's a poorly developed game. I mean, you have it where the arcs, the PvE aspect, or enemies and stuff, like the arcs in there. And so I guess for somebody that don't play the game, the robots in the game and stuff, the NPC enemies, they'll extraction camp the area that you're trying to leave out of. So now you gotta run all the way across. Then on top of that, you're being timed, and then they'll put you in games where it might only be like 15 to 10 minutes left. So it's like you're trying to hurry up, find a bunch of different stuff, don't have time to do missions or look for the missions. Versus a game like Gray Zone Warfare, I have yet to fail you can't fail missions in Arc Raiders, but I have yet to fail a mission in Gray Zone Warfare. And again, I've mainly just been playing PvE, but if I've been playing the PvPvE mode, I probably wouldn't have done so many different missions. It probably would have been like the missions where you have to there's no punishment for dying in the game, but I know they do have it where it's like if you fail a mission, you'll lose reputation points, I think that's what they call it and stuff. But anyways, but other than that, it's like, yeah, no, I have yet to lose that game due to another player because the PvE mode exists. So that's why I'm like, when they get to talking about which is better, PvE or PvP or PvPvE, PvE, in my opinion, is better. You know, and I guess, like, if you're looking for a game where it's, like, team deathmatch, free-for-all, stuff like that, then I feel like that's when the PvP conversation needs to get brought up. But PvPvE games, to me, it just shows, I guess, like, because Gray Zone Warfare, again, they do have that. But they also allowed you to play the game PvE. So, in my opinion, what I'm about to say, Gray Zone Warfare is out of the mix. I'm not going to put them in this conversation. But when a game just only comes out with PvPvE and you blend everything in to one mode, that just shows the laziness in development. Because I'm like, fam, if you're making... I wonder how much money did Arc Raiders make. Hold on for a second. Let's see. How much money did Arc Raiders make? As of early February 2026, Arc Raiders has generated over $500 million in gross revenue. I don't understand how, because I'm like, fam, you guys have more than enough money to set a team aside and make a PvE mode. So, and people talking about, oh, that's going to ruin the game. No, it's going to ruin the game for you because you're not going to have, it's just going to be nothing but team deathmatch and free-for-all and all that stuff in PvPvE. But if the developers were to come out with PvE, I guarantee and I promise you, people will be able to complete missions. People ain't going to be struggling. People ain't going to be out here hitting us with no catchphrases talking about, oh, that's the risk of reward and all that other stuff. No, people are going to be able to enjoy a game that they paid $39.99 plus tax for. That's why I went out and bought that. I bought a game to enjoy it. I'm not trying to buy a game for no risk of reward, this and that, this catchphrase and that catchphrase. I'm trying to just play a game and have fun with it. And it's funny because I remember when Gray Zone Warfare, before they started doing like updates and all that stuff with the game. And I mean, at the end of the day, I just think that, again, that's just, showcasing the toxic fan base, even with games like Gray Zone Warfare. I think all games is just going to have a toxic fan base, but I'll never forget that guy, just kind of getting off topic. I'll never forget when that guy, he was trying to say that it's a real man's game, but I guess more so adding on to, not really adding on to what he's saying, but to like carry that conversation into here. Because what game was it that I was playing? Oh, I think it was either both or one, but I think it might have been Marathon. It might have been Marathon, but that's just really showcasing the toxic fan base where people, they'll tell you to go play another game, and I'm like, if that game is fun, then yes, I will play it. But if you're telling me to play it because, and that's what the guy was trying to say with Gray Zone Warfare, that it's a real man's game, what would be considered a real man's video game? Because to me, I'm like, a real man video game is a game that's properly developed and it's fun and all these other different things. Yeah, it might be military and realistic and all that other stuff, but I'm like, fam, there are games where they're not realistic, they're not all this, so you would think it would be a little bit more harder to develop those games. Like, because I remember that was the game that I played right after I played Gray Zone Warfare, and this was before 0.4. 0.4 definitely made the game a lot better, but anyways, I was playing, I started playing Destiny, and the guy was like, oh, you playing these old kiddie arcade shooters and stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, grown men developed this game and went on about their business with it. Explain to me, how does them, when they're clearly making more money than you have the free time to be sitting around arguing with people. They don't. They're working on a video game. This was at a point in time where Destiny is alright-ish, but it's one of those games where I'm like, yeah, you come out with a Destiny 3, it better not be nothing like Destiny 2. It better be like Destiny 1. So, but anyways... But, the guy was trying to, like, get on me for playing Destiny. Then he started talking about how he was really in the military and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, military people usually have a little bit more respect for their surroundings and stuff and for people. I just don't get it. You fight for this country, but you'll go on Twitch and argue with people about video games and then try to make it seem like that they're not a man because they're playing a game that you don't care for. What sense does that make? I don't understand that. I don't know. Maybe if he actually did, I'm like, you definitely got some entitlement running through your blood. But Anyways, but I remember that too. It was either with Arc Raiders or Marathon. People were telling me to play this new Pokemon game that came out, where I guess it's supposed to be a kiddie game and stuff. Even though grown men, adults, developed that game, I'm like, I don't think kids can develop video games. If so, then I'm like, them are some smart kids and stuff. But anyways, but what would be the problem with me playing the game if the game is better? So that's why I'm like, and when we look down, I guess, and look at what Pokemon has done for the world and what Marathon and Arc Raiders and all these other different PvPvE games and stuff, I think if it came down between playing a game where it's left more of an impact than Arc Raiders and Marathon, yes, slap me in front of that Pokemon game. I will play that game day and night. I'm actually considering on buying that game because it does actually look fun and it looks like a game worth playing. But to, I guess, make it seem like that it's not a good game or it's not as good as Marathon. And my thing is this, let's just see how much money. So Arc Raiders made $500 million. Let's see how much Marathon, how much money that game has made in the 2 months that it's been out. So as of April 2026, Bungie's Marathon has reportedly generated roughly $55 million. Okay. And then I know that game's not available on Steam, the new Pokemon game. But let's just see Steam and Marathon's player count and stuff, which has gotten extremely lower. But hold on. Pokemon make, how much money did Pokemon make just throughout? Dang. I'm like, if there was job opportunities passed towards me, whether it's the Pokemon franchise, Bungie, or the people, I think Embark Studios, those are the ones that did the ones that did Arc Raiders. But I asked Google, how much money did Pokemon make? They said Pokemon is the highest grossing media franchise of all time, with an estimated total lifetime revenue exceeding $115 billion as of early 2026. Let's just see how much money they made last year in 2025, with the cards and all that stuff. Oh, it still says that it was, it's still hitting with net sales 411 billion. Well, I imagine with like all the cards and all that stuff. Dang, there's key revenue drivers includes Pokemon TCG Pocket. There's like estimated 1.2 billion in its first year in Pokemon Go. Yeah, Pokemon, and I imagine that with this what was that game called? Pokemon. Is it Utopia? I don't think it was called Utopia. What is that new Pokemon game called? Pokemon Pokopia. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Okay, so, but anyways, let's see how much money did that game make. I feel like any game on Nintendo is going to be making money. How much did Pokemon make in 2026? They probably might not know the 117 million, $177 million. So I think Arc Raiders, wasn't theirs 100, how much? 155, I think. Let's see again. How much did Arc Raiders make? So now I done jumped all the way up to $500 million, generated $500 million. Okay, so $500 million. All right, so I'll give them that, But I mean, the game has been out for a while though. Talking on Arc Raiders, I will give them that because I feel like didn't they just come out with a Pokemon game? Yeah, it was that A through Z game and stuff. So I'm like, I wonder how much did that game. Oh, wait a minute. Oh no, wait, I know it was a Pokemon Z through A make. Let's see how much theirs was generated grossly, or they was like released grossly, roughly $770 million, and that was both with Switch 1 and 2. So that game's only available one platform and stuff, and they made $770 million. Meanwhile, it's like Arc Raiders, you guys is available on like 3 different platforms and only made $500 million. So I'm like, there's that, I guess, but still though, overall though, yeah, Arc Raiders probably was the more successful game comparing it to the Pokemon games last year. But still though, I'm like, if we're really sitting down and talking on a franchise, You can't compare Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders and Marathon combined ain't got nothing on Pokemon, alright? But then I wonder, they probably ain't got like no website where it lets you know how many people are playing that game. Pokemon, Poke or Poco Pokia or something like that. Let's see, Pokopia, okay. Player count, they probably ain't got no player count thing on here. Oh, wait a minute, streams. Oh, I think this is going based off of like people that are streaming the game, not actual players estimated. Do they actually have like a thing that lets you know how many people are playing the game? No, they don't say nothing. Yeah, Nintendo don't be having stuff like that. But with Arc Raiders, they had 5 months ago 481,000 people playing the game. They currently got 71,000 people playing the game. And then with that was Arc Raiders. Then with Marathon, they had 88,000 people play the game last month when it first released, and now they got only 12,000 people playing the game. So are you gonna really try to sit here and convince me that Arc Raiders and Marathon, that they're both doing better than the Pokemon games? When I'm like, you'll see when people still be playing those games versus Arc Raiders and Marathon. It's like, I think even them like older Pokemon games where people are still playing that. I mean, just with the cards, it's like you ain't even getting to play no games with the cards. You just gotta go up to a store, buy cards either from the one of the aisles or from one of those machines, and it's like you can't play no games. You just like only just, I guess, reselling a card and stuff. So that's why I'm like, yeah, don't try to have no franchise like Pokemon getting compared to games like Arc Raiders and Marathon, knowing clearly that Pokemon, you could put their worst game up against Arc Raiders and Marathon, and people would rather still play that than those games. Yeah, you'll have it where I think there's just people that's playing Arc Raiders and Marathon now because they don't know what other games to play. But just let this year just play out and see how them games is doing by the end of the year. Because I just know even with Grand Theft Auto 6, that alone, that's going to shut down both of those games. But yeah, let's see what other games might be able to shut down those two games. But anyways, with that being said, I'll talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. Stay tuned for the next episode. Like, subscribe, viewing this on YouTube. Follow, subscribe, viewing this on a podcast streaming service. And peace.